Yo, what's up, guys? Talking about the max upgraded Nat5 selection event. This is actually possible to check what other people have been picking, and I disagree with those choices. You have an option to change, however. So if you did already pick something, and with my recommendation, you might be thinking like, hey, that maybe not be the best idea. Let's look into it first, what people have been picking. A lot of Teshars make sense to a certain extent, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't think I would recommend people that. I straight up think Rika is not a great pick. Same for Red. Same for Liam. Cyrus is okay-ish, I would say. Leo is a good pick. Riley is an okay pick. Like I don't even understand. This demon I don't understand. And the Velagio I also don't really understand. So, first of all, let's talk about the obvious ones, why they are not recommended. Liam only upgrades your Dragon Steam. You could use it in PC as well. That is an option. But then again, I think that he's not that much of a must there in the first place. Plus, it is actually kind of difficult to rune to make it consistent where he does always do his third skill. And people really underestimate that. People just think like, oh, 50% HP, Liam does the skill, everything that. No. You need like 30% HP on the boss for it to be good. So therefore, I think that this thing is a bit overrated. For that, you get a, what's it called, Tyrone for free. Tyrone arguably for TOA is better. That also comes to my next statement. You don't need a specific LD5 for the TOA. TOA these days is so relative easy that pretty much anything can kind of clear it. Sure, it speeds it up by a little bit, but it's not a necessity. There's a lot of good AoE dollars out there. You could just simply use 2A units such as Thrain and blah, 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 which also then comes into the Rika. You can use Thrain everywhere that you were planning to use a Rika. It is pretty much the same thing, and therefore Rika does not have that much of a uniqueness value where I would say, this is your must pick because it's a unique best in slot. Because by the fact where you could look at a tier list and a tier list saying like, hey, this unit is triple S tier or double S tier or blah, blah, that kind of stuff. Yes, it is a possibility, but it's also for this, since it's a selection of one unit, I would really recommend people to select something that you're lacking or that would really help you out in the long run what you're trying to focus on. And the uniqueness of a Teshar kind of is there because it makes Giants super easy to run. But if you have another team that can also run Giants, such as just a Julie plus a Mephisto, maybe just want to keep running that, or maybe work towards running that. Or in the end, Teshar is really good, but it's really good for just one thing. It is Giants. It's not good in Necro, it's not good in Dragons, it's not good in RTA, it's not good in Arena, it's not good in Siege, it's not good in a lot of places, it's only there for Giants. Is that worth your selection ticket? To be honest, I would say if you're on a new beginner account and you're starting around this kind of event, keep it until the end of the event and then switch it out for something else. That's my recommendation. Like, get your first few runes in with the Teshar and then switch it out for something else because that will definitely do a lot better for you. Interestingly enough, we also do have this one. People, you do know that this vampire is a fusion material nowadays. You don't have to pick up this thing. But the 4-star, I think it's more of like, I would say that I think Lucian is overrated as well. Lucian is no longer PvE meta. PvP, you're not really killing too much shits as well. So I would say Astar is a really good one to pick up from here. I would say Galleon is a good one to pick up from here. I would say Abigail is a really good one to pick up from here because in the end, it is a absolute best in slot for Necro. And Necro, especially for early game accounts, is pretty interesting to farm. Or otherwise, just get anything that you might be missing at the moment. So that one is not that specific. But let's talk about units, which I do recommend you to pick from this. And to be honest, only one that's actually on there that I would really recommend is a Leo. Maybe a Zyros. While editing, I did actually notice that you can also select for not just the new summoners, but also existing and returning players. Like I mentioned, a lot of Liams, not a big fan. Leo, of course, good. Verret, not a big fan. Deepar living in the past, this unit is no longer as great by a long shot. Recap did already mention. Spectre Princess, I do think is a really good one. And I think the last three in general, these are three pretty solid picks, I would say. But definitely the first two, and then the third, and then the fourth, and the fifth, I would say are pretty bad. Let's actually see what this is for the 4-star as well. What are people picking that have already been playing for 4 stars? Lucian definitely misses his shine. I would say that this actually makes sense. Like, this is the only one that I would say you want to have more duplicates of, and it's pretty chill if they're right away max skilled. Could say that this one is maybe okay-ish for dragons or so, but that's not the craziest. I would say that most people that have already been playing for a longer time already have most 4-stars, and then it's just like, what other 4-star do you want again to have more skill ups? So I would say that a full skilled up Skydancer would help most people with that kind of sense. So that's a pretty decent one right there. So the units that I'm gonna name, I'm also gonna mention where I'm going or where I would recommend to place them at. Some are good in multiple places in the game, which does help out a lot. But the very first one I want to give a lot of credits to, and I think it's actually one of the best units in the game right now, is Adriana. And Adriana, you might say, it's like, oh, but Stat kind of does the same thing. Well, not really. You don't have 111 base. It's so incredibly good. Attack buff, speed buff, it's so good. We're talking good in siege offense, usable in siege defense. If you just go for the Odin with the Thessarion team, it's already fine. Might you say it's like, oh, but Adriana, I don't have a Sonya, I don't have a Siri. You just use it with a Ming, and you use it with any other nuker that's fast enough to do enough damage as well. Adriana, if you care about siege, it's 100% the best thing you can pick. Would you say like, oh, but I rather care about RTA? Unless you really want to cleave, maybe it's not really the unit for you. But I would say Adriana is absolutely one of those units I did expect to be high on that list because she's just incredibly freaking strong. Another unit that is very versatile, very all-round at the moment is Lamila. You can actually use this for TOA stuff as well, but TOA, no one really cares, as mentioned. Anyone can clear TOA. But she's becoming meta in defense for Siege. She is also meta for arena offense. So siege defense, most of the time she has the leader skill. And then you put it next to a Terranese and something else. Or you put it next to a bunch of LDs. There's a decent amount of options that you could put her in. I've also seen people go for a Sierra and then her. And then together with a Jungnam or something. There's a lot of options for her on siege defense. Arena defense, it's kind of a bit an option. It's not really the greatest out there. But you could put it next to a 33 lead Triton, and then this thing, and then something else next to it. There's definitely the option in there with that provoke. You have to keep in mind you're probably going to be facing Pheromals, so your 4th unit has to be countering Pheromals. But she's also a absolute best in slot for the dot team with a Trix, Amber, Lamila, and then Heigang slash Vert slash Shaymage slash whatever you want to put in that final slot. She's incredibly good for that because this Arsenal Sacrifice just does an insane amount of damage. Also, she's a bit more new, so not everyone might have her already. So I think that Lamila is definitely a unit that more people could be looking at from getting from this selection event. If you care a lot about RTA, definitely Water Twin Angels is absolutely good. Is also still very usable for a siege defense. The main common siege defense is the Water Twins plus a Ren plus an LD. And then the LD, in most cases, you do see like a Cadiz or you see something like that. If you don't have that LD, you could also just put a Sahat, the Wind Bayek in there. It's definitely a really strong team. How would you run that? Well, the thing is, you could make Ren super fast, you could make this thing super fast, you could make Ren super high on damage, you could make everything super tanky, you could do everything on 100 res, you could do certain things on Vio, certain things on Swift, you could do the whole thing on Vio. That's the thing, there's a lot of options to it, so therefore it's not always the same thing how you're hitting this team, which makes this unit really good. Plus, I would say that with the Jungnam nerf, I wouldn't be surprised if the Water Twin Angels become the most picked and Nat5 in RTA later on, so it's definitely one of those units you might be thinking of getting. Of course, if you do care a lot about Siege, Siri is one of those options you might want to go for. It's just a really clean, easy Siege hit. But then again, I would say Sonya probably has a little bit more value. But if you already have a Sonya, you don't have a Siri, it is an option right there, but I think that there are better options out there. But it's a little bit of a honorable mention. Amber is actually something that I expected more to be in there rather than the Rika, because Amber in the end is really good if you use a right team for the... it's still decent in RTA. It's not the best right now because of the Nabara, but it is usable right there. It's absolutely the highest damage dealer for TOA Hell. So it's not necessarily hard and stuff. Everyone can clear that, but Hell, it can definitely help out a good amount over there. But she's also usable in arena offense and siege offense. So she does have a bunch of extra values the way you could use her. It's the best in slot? Not really, but it's definitely an option that you could go for that. Also, Heigang, I do think it's still a really strong unit if you don't have it yet. Strong in RTA, strong in siege offense, strong in arena offense. Siege offense, we're talking something like a Lewis or a Riley and then Thessarion, or we're talking like a Rika next to that or anything like that. It's definitely really good into anything that is like a Claire or a Fiona or like the Dark Siri. A lot of those things out there where Heigang becomes really interesting. And of course, Camilla, I don't really have to say too much about this. Absolutely insane unit for siege offense. Really decent for arena defense still. And it's also usable in RTA. So it's one of those units, very flexible, very usability. So it's one of those things that you might be thinking of like, oh, that's actually a pretty good one. Then let's look at fire. Right away, my eye goes to tricks. Once again, good for siege offense, good for arena offense. Defense, you don't really see it anywhere. RTA, a little bit here and there, but it's not the craziest for it, but absolutely a good unit. That could be an option right there. You might say Bloodshock, you might say Recap, but I would say that it is an option, but it's not necessarily as crazy good because, for example, Trix really does something extra where the Bloodja Silence is pretty nice, but the Rika is just dots. There's a lot of units that just do dots because the thing is a lot of things pair well with this, whereas the Rika needs a more specific pair kind of style. So that's kind of my back and forth on those. Any of the other units, I think Fire doesn't have as many, which I would really say like, oh, these are like super crazy. I would say a Zyros is definitely an option if you do care about arena offense, siege offense. Zyros is arguably best unit in game for arena offense still. Vanessa is definitely one of those units, very versatile. It's good for arena defense. It's really good for RTA still. Good unit over there. If you also don't have a Juno yet, I think Juno is one of those things. I would say it's arguably one of the highest win rate normal Nat5s since probably like 10 seasons. So it's definitely one of those units that might give some interest as well if you don't have that one yet. Then finally on Wind, I think some people might go like, oh, the Nobara seems super OP. I think the Nobara is kind of the same thing as Byuncho before. But when people figured out it's not as strong, Byuncho I definitely wouldn't go for right now. It's not really a defense meta anymore, neither in Arena, neither in Siege. So it's definitely not a pick that I would go for. It's mainly like people are thinking about going this because they just played like half a year ago and it was OP then, but it's not OP right now. Unit that's definitely a good take is a Sonya. Don't have to explain much. Insane arena offense, insane arena or RTA, and insane in siege. So and you can also use it in PV. So Sonya's definitely very high up on my list for what I would say is a good unit. If you care about RTA, you don't have an Oliver yet. Oliver might help you out a little bit as well. Of course, can't miss out on the Feng Yang. Feng Yang is just absolutely insane. If you want to create a auto team for Arena, Feng Yang is your boy. It's 100% the best thing out there. And of course, Leo has the most unique passive in game, plus Tiana. So there's actually a whole bunch of good options, I would say, for units to go for. But then, what would I say is my top 5 from all of the units that I just named? Well, let me grab my notepad. Also, must say honorable mention to Sierra. Sierra is also a very versatile unit that still is used a lot in siege defense. Offense kind of styles. Well, arena offense, it's pretty good as well. Let's put Sierra in there as well. It's definitely a good unit. Okay, so I think these were all the units that I did name. I'm just going to give pluses for the things that I would say is really good. So I think Adriana is absolutely a really good pick. I think Camilla is an okay pick. Lamila is actually a really good pick as well. Amber is an okay pick. Series maybe just an okay pick. Hey Gang, I think gets a double. Trix maybe gets a double. Zyros really kind of depends if you care that much about arena offense. If you really care for arena offense, then Zyros pretty much becomes this. But let's just say this for now. If you really care about RTA, then Vanessa does get a lot of value. And same for Juno. Well, you could use Juno Siege offense as well, but it's mainly that. I would say Leo's absolutely a great option. Tiana's a really great option. Feng is a great option. Sierra is for me this. And Sonya is, I would say, maybe even this as well. So these are the best ones. So if we put that in order, then we're pretty much looking at this list. Then the big question is, do you care? What do you care about in the content? What is your goal for 2025? Where do you really want to progress? And based on that, you can maybe make your decision. So once again, I would say if we can also make a list by that. So if you are RTA focus, well, the thing is, to be honest, it's kind of hard to say. Like I did already kind of mention where units are used, but there's a lot of units with a good amount of overlap. For example, Lamila, you can still use it in RTA. It's not the best of RTA units, but it's still definitely a dangerous RTA unit out there. So a lot of these units have more flexibility. I would say all of these have a lot of flexibility, maybe even the Camilla as well, have a lot of flexibility to being used in more content than just one. And that makes a pick a lot more interesting than saying, for example, if you go to Teshar, it is just giants. Like that's it. You're just clearing giants better. That's all. Like sure, nice for beginner account, but I would definitely towards the end of the event make that switch because there's a million ways to fight giants. Plus, you don't have infinite amount of crystals anyway. So why do you need a crazy fast team in the first place? So yeah, and yeah, if you do have infinite amount of crystals, you probably already summoned 6 Teshar. So the need for a Teshar is not really as crazy as people might think. And same thing with the Rika. It's like, oh yeah, cool, you're dotting for TOAs. Like, plenty units can do that. That's nothing too crazy. Plus, if we're taking that as an argument, I would say that an Amber is way better by a really long shot. Like an insane long shot. Don't get me wrong, Rika is a good unit, but it's also really an overrated unit for that sense. So yeah, these are my recommendations, I would say, for getting from the event. It also, of course, really depends on what do you already mess. Let's say that you have a good Nat5 or a good LD5 that very pairs well with something else that is a specific unit. Let's say that you have a Gianna, you really want to pair up a Sierra Gianna combination, then that becomes a lot more interesting. Or maybe any of the other combinations of units that I did not really mention, but you have a good pair with that, and therefore something else is really utilized. Try to look more for something like that rather than saying like, oh yeah, now I can finally farm giants. It's like as if you were not farming giants before. Sure, it makes it easier, but you were already farming giants before. It's not that you get a Rika and you finally start clearing TOA normal and hard. You were already doing that before. So try to find a unit that makes you do something extra that you weren't doing before. Sure, it's nice if things are a little bit more simple. With a Rika or a Teshar, they make it a little bit more simple. But try to find that new best in slot, which actually enables you to do something you weren't doing yet. And therefore, you're able to get more resources, you get higher rewards, you get further into the game, blah, blah, blah. Those kind of things. That is what you should be looking for. So guys, hope you enjoyed this one. I am definitely going to be doing one on all of the HOHs as well. I think it will be released tomorrow. So if you do want to watch more videos like this, you just got to subscribe. That's all you got to do. Also, if you do want to see the tier list that I made earlier this year, I will put it in the description down below, because in the tier list, I do also explain where I would recommend to use units, what the kind of builds are, and you can actually search and buy the timestamp so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But of course, I highly appreciate it if you watch the whole thing. So yeah, that tier list is made in January, so it's a few balanced patches ago, but main general thing is still kind of the same. So yeah, this is it for my recommendation. To be honest, if I had no units and it would start on a fresh account, which, spoiler, I might actually do another beginner account, I would say I would probably take that Teshar until the end of the event, and then towards the end of the event, it really depends what I want to focus on. But I might just simply say like, hey, an Adriana is really good for so many things. It also kind of depends on what other units do I get. Like, let's say I already pull a Zyros, then I'm really thinking about like, oh, I can make a Zyros-Tiana combination, right? Or let's say that I pull a Sonya, then I'm like, oh, that's where an Adriana gets really interesting. And yeah, that kind of depends on what you get over there. So definitely do make use of it, that you pick something right now. But towards the end, base it off the units you have done and what you want to focus on. And then make that switch potentially, rather than just saying the Teshar. I mentioned that already. Well guys, thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.